Hello, Patriots. Here we are. We're here. We are live. We are going to have a phenomenal show today. Big news going on in the world, but we are going to still continue to talk about this active shooter in Minneapolis. And there's a couple of reasons for that. The first reason is that some new information has come out. And frankly, it's just a big story, okay? It is a big story with a lot of updates and a lot of things that we have talked about on this show for years have come to fruition. One of the main things of that is the mental health crisis that's happening in the United States. And the left is not only embracing it, they are encouraging it. So let's take a look here. We're going to pull up some clips that I have. And we're going to talk about them, okay? So the left is coming out, and what they're trying to do and what they're unable to do and what they're going to be unable to do is try to attach this shooter to the right side of the political aisle. That's just something that's not going to happen. The shooter is, I wouldn't say a self-proclaimed leftist, but they're a leftist through their own action. And a prime example of that is the stuff that was written on the firearms. Kill Trump, Trans Lives Matter. That wasn't written on the firearm. That was a sticker that the shooter had somewhere else. But here is Rosie O'Donnell trying to say that this person is MAGA.
So about the Minnesota shooting, and it brought me right back to Columbine in 1999 when I just could not get it through my head that students in America were shooting schools. And this was a church inside a Catholic school. And what do you know, was a white guy, Republican, MAGA person.
No.
What do you know? White supremacist.
Where are you getting that from?
So about the Minnesota shooting, and it brought me right back to Columbine.
So the left is going to continue to try and blame, even though this shooter had kill Trump on their weapon. They called him a MAGA and a Trump supporter. He wrote "kill Trump" on the weapon he used in this massacre. I'm glad she called him a he, though, but that's only because it supported her agenda. Now, the left cannot figure out what to do in this situation, so they're lying. Okay, they're lying. They're trying to say he's a leftist. I mean, a right winger and a right supremacist. Here's CNN unable to even call the shooter a man because they still have to be polite to the pronouns. Think about how ridiculous and absurd this is, that the left it continues on this path that is just terrible, terrible for our society. Let's listen to this.
For the mother to not even return to the state to answer law enforcement questions, to try to provide some assistance. I'm sure she's grieving for her daughter, but this is, it's a really perverse and strange element of this story. It's inexplicable to me at this point.
Yeah, Andrew McCabe, we'll see if that changes. I think
for the mother to not even return to the state to answer law enforement questions, to try to provide some assistance. I'm sure she's grieving for her daughter, but this is
what rights does this person have after they murdered a bunch of children? Zero. They should be taken out back and put down. That's what should happen. Now, some more things are coming out, which we're going to get into, but the leftists are just taking every opportunity that they can to run to the TV cameras and to blame guns and to blame leftists, and it's something that is not going to win. They do this every time there's a mass shooting, and statistically, assault weapons, or if you want to call them assault weapons, are rarely responsible for deaths in the United States. Rarely. This shooter had with him a shotgun and a pistol. It hasn't even been confirmed that he even used the AR-15 in the shooting, which I'm sure he did. I'm not saying he didn't, but the news hasn't come out and said that. They know that we had one with him, but he also had a shotgun with him too. So how many rounds of the shotgun did he shoot off? We just don't know. Josh says mental health should be a bugger concern in America. Also, there is no way those parents didn't see signs of this coming. We don't know that, man. We don't know what the parents saw. We're going to get into the mother. There's some activity going on with the mother that people are calling suspicious, and I'm not calling it suspicious. Okay, the mother's refusing to talk to police. The mother's refusing to cooperate with police, and she is in Florida hiding. I think there's a good reason for that, and we're going to go over that, but just not right this second. So David Hogg, of course, this grifter, this nerd, goes on to CNN, and of course, it's not the trans shooter's fault or the trans person's fault. It's Donald Trump's fault.
The bottom line is this: Donald Trump has the power to do something about this. After Parkland, he repeatedly said, you guys are cowards. You're not going to do anything because you're afraid of the NRA. We need to do something about guns. That is what he said. And then he met with the NRA and did nothing. Why? Because he is a coward. And my message to Donald Trump is that you are a coward, sir. You are not going to do anything about this issue because you are terrified of the NRA, even though you have the power to save tens of thousands of lives. You were the strongest president in modern American history with a chokehold over your party and both chambers of Congress. You have the power to end this, but you are not going to because you're a damn coward.
I mean, whatever, dude. Whatever. I do think something needs to be done, okay? I'm not going to pretend that I have the answers because I don't have all the answers, but I do have the concern and the compassion. I think that everybody can say that they're tired and fed up of school shootings. 100%. I don't think anybody on either side of the aisle disagrees. The disagreement is what to do about them. Number one, um, uh, Robert F. Kennedy is trying to look into the fact of gender affirming care and psychosis and SSRIs, which are antidepressants, and their effect on violence and whether or not it contributed to this person becoming an active shooter. That's a logical, sound investigation that needs to occur in the United States of America. The psychiatric is the psychiatric association has declared this a mental disorder decades, and then hey Liam, how you doing, buddy? Welcome on. And then the the leftists come along and they just want to erase years of intelligent history for their own political agenda and affirm the psychosis and tell the people that it's real when it's not. So the Trump administration can do something here. Okay. Um, I think something needs to be done, and I think something drastic needs to be done. I'm talking there should be armed guards in every school in the United States of America. And there's no reason there should not be. There's no logical argument that you can give me that an armed person should not be at a school every single day. Now, the concern for that, there's a couple of concerns. Number one, now you got armed people in schools and everybody freaks out, okay? Well, guess what? There's armed people everywhere across the United States that carry their weapons without incident. Hey, Kat, welcome on. Why without incident? And nothing occurs every day. There's millions of people that carry guns across the country. In the state of Florida, you don't even need a permit to carry a firearm. You just put it on your hip and go where you want to go. And nobody says anything. And nobody dies. Police officers carry guns every day. They're not out there murdering people that they see. So there are qualified individuals that we can place in school to protect our children. We need to protect our damn children. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. I'm over it. I've been having this discussion for years. And the discussion goes away every time there's a shooting and nobody handles it. The answers are not to take guns away. You're never going to get rid of guns, man. You just get over it. The year is 2025. People have a constitutional right to possess and bear firearms, period. Full stop. Okay? Number one. Number two, there are too many guns in this country to get all of them and ban them. It's not going to happen. We tried that with drugs. Guess what? Drugs are everywhere. There's more drugs in school than there are friggin' guns. So that's what you need. We need armed guards in every school around the country. None of it happened. And we put armed guards and federal security at every airport in the country. We called it the TSA. We couldn't come up with some sort of guardian angel program to subsidize states for armed guards at school, for the guardian angels or the guardians of the children, or some sort of program where officials would be armed. But the left opposes that. They oppose the protection of the children because it's not about protecting the children. It's about taking your guns away. That's what they want. And that the school shootings, would it solve that problem if you put armed guards in every school in the country? Would it solve that problem? I mean, I think it would. I think schools are soft targets, and soft targets are more targeted than hard targets. I think the harder the person is, the harder we make it for somebody to get into the school and kill children, the less likely they are to do it, because it's not going to be worth their time and they know they're not going to be able to do it. If they know they're about to walk through that door and immediately be met by gunfire, then that's where we're going to be. I think a big concern is people don't want police officers in the school because police officers will be enforcing the law on children. I think that's a concern. I don't want my kid to, um, be in school, do something stupid, and then just immediately get arrested. I think that's extreme, depending on what he did or what she did. But the notion that we're not going to protect our kids with guns is insanity. And the people who are sitting there telling you we're not going to protect our kids with guns have kids who are protected with guns. Their children are protected with guns. They themselves are protected with guns. Hillary Clinton, protected with guns. Bill Clinton, protected with guns. Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, their children, protected by men with guns. You're not screaming to have their guns taken away. They're screaming to have yours taken away because that's the actual agenda. And I think that it's well overdue, and it's time for action. And I agree with these politicians on the left who are yelling about how we need action. We do need action. We absolutely need action. Kat says, have an office in every school where PD/sheriff can do reports, etc. Just the cars would be a deterrent. Yeah, I mean, that's an option too. Make it a police stop station where they can go and get coffee and snacks, and they just come during the day and show up. We used to have sometimes when I was with the sheriff's office, we would have our morning patrol meetings at the local school if there was a threat or something, and we would just all be there. But there's something that can be done, and I'm not sitting here screaming that I have the answers like some stupid talking head on CNN going, "Oh, it's the guns," or, "Oh, no, no. Our children are precious, and they should be guarded, and they should be protected. Our airports are more protected than our friggin' schools are, and that's outrageous. It's outrageous." Here is CNN. This is what's her name? I can't even think of her name because I'm so flustered. I just went on this rant. Let me pull it up. Here we go.
I mean, that is a question that we've asked ourselves when Columbine happened back when I was in high school. We've asked ourselves that question when we saw little babies being slaughtered in Sandy Hook. We continue to ask ourselves that question. What I can tell you is that we collectively have a solution. We know that when we allow as a country for guns to be accessible to people in the easy way that it is in the United States, we continue to have these kind of tragedies. When we do not collectively as a community in the United States address mental health illness, when we don't see these children and communities that are impacted and, look for signs that tell us there is something wrong. We know that the assailant in this tragedy had a YouTube page where he was posting, documenting the kind of insanity that unfolded today.
He didn't post the insanity until after it unfolded. This is just a politician talking out of their ass who doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. He set his videos to post after the shooting on a timer. He was already dead when they were posted, so that wouldn't have mattered.
Somebody saw that, and what we want to change is our perspective. We want to be able to become a country that sees images like that and alerts someone. Because if that would have happened today, two beautiful angels would still be with us. A whole community would not be devastated, and these families would still have their loved ones going home to them tonight.
Yeah, you just can't even imagine what those parents are feeling tonight. And as you noted, I mean, it's every parent's worst nightmare. And when you look at this in terms of the,
I cannot stand that these people have the nerve to stand on the graves of these kids and preach from a position of what they think is morality. a superior morality of yours and talk down as if you know this did not occur for other reasons, which we've covered exhaustively. Here is another reporter trying to say that this is Donald Trump's. So basically, they're trying to manipulate it, saying that this is a Donald Trump supporter.
23-year-old Robin Westman was able to leave what police called a video manifesto that they're now going through to try and establish motive. We've also been going through it and can tell you there are crude diagrams of the church. There are also photos of the weapons, and they include all sorts of writings, the names of past mass shooters, criticism of Israel, the name of President Trump written on the guns. There are
the name of President Trump written on the guns is what he had to say.
Also racial slurs, nihilistic statements, all painting the picture of a disturbed individual who carried out this mass shooting on the first week of school at the Annunciation Church in Minneapolis.
Just paint this picture. This is basically, he said, without saying it directly, this is a white supremacist. That's what he said. That's what he said. Racist comments, anti-Jewish comments, and Donald Trump's name. Right? Those are the three. Let's listen to it again.
23-year-old Robin Westman was able to leave what police called a video manifesto that they're now going through to try and establish motive. We've also been going through it and can tell you there are crude diagrams of the church. There are also photos of the weapons, and they include all sorts of writings, the names of past mass shooters, criticism of Israel, the name of President Trump written on the guns. There are also racial slurs, nihilistic statements, all painting the picture of a disturbed individual who carried out this mass shooting on the first week of school at the Annunciation Church in Minneapolis.
Just an FYI, anybody willing to mutilate themselves or their parents, have their parents do it or their parents agree to do it, is a disturbed individual. Anybody. That's a red flag. That's a sign that something is not right and that there is a serious problem going on. Here is a clip from Fox News where the House Majority Leader, Mike Johnson, is discussing this situation. The left has also attacked prayer, which has not gone over very good with the right side of the aisle.
And your thinking this morning?
Well, it's incredible to me that Jen Psaki and Gavin Newsom and others would attack religion, diminish the faith of millions of Americans at a time of such great tragedy. There are a lot of common sense solutions, things that can be done to protect children at schools and in churches that do not involve taking away the constitutional rights of law-abiding American citizens. This is not a time to politicize these issues. We mourn for the families, the community that's affected there. I don't know if you saw, I'm sure you guys saw the father's remarks yesterday for that little boy who was lost. Fletcher Merkel, it's such a heart-wrenching thing for all of us. And at the end of the day, the problem is not guns, okay, Jen Psaki? The problem is the human heart. It's mental health. There are things that we can do, solutions that we can come together to handle, but this is not the time to be.
Do you think specifically,
but they're just politicizing it. That's what the left does. The left doesn't care about these children. They could care less. The left is the party of the groomers, man. They don't care about these kids. They care about their political agenda and ripping your rights away. That's all that they care about. That's the only thing that they really, really, truly care about. Here is J.D. Vance made a comment on Fox News about the left's attack on prayer, and it's not going over well. The majority of the United States are good, wholesome, religious people who pray.
Will, if you are a politician or you're a media commentator and two beautiful babies just got murdered while praying and your politics force you to condemn prayer in response to it, you ought to get new politics because something very wrong has gone on inside your soul. Will, if you are...
Yeah, I mean, he's right. And yes, you're right. Satanists do attack prayer. Now, the shooter in their manifesto had said that they were tired of being trans and that I wish I never brainwashed myself. We're going to go over this a little bit more in a little while, okay? So stay tuned. If you haven't yet, make sure you hit that like button, tap that share button, drop a comment down below, and let's talk about this horrible incident. And let's get this incident out there. It's already way out there, but we really need to stop this from happening again. And we're not going to do that by doing nothing. Right now, the United States, the Republican Party is in control. They have power. We could get a law passed about armed guards in children's schools. That's where it should be. It should be a federal government subsidized state program. We got rid of the Department of Education. We can definitely get a program where we have an armed guard in every school. Or we have funding for safety features in schools, like the bulletproof doors, the internal locks on the doors, the sectioning off, the camera systems that can detect somebody walking in with a rifle, and then the whole school locks down. The lockdown procedures need funding, and there should be more funding for that, along with armed guards. You should be able to lock down the whole school in a moment's notice. No kids can get out. No kids can get in. Lock the whole school down and stop the madness. Just stop it.
If you are the praying type, I would ask you to join me in prayer. I'm just going to say a prayer for the two little kids who lost their lives yesterday. And this is a prayer we say a lot in my church, and I've always found it very meaningful. It's very short. But eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them. May the souls of all the faithful departed, through the mercy of God, rest in peace. Amen.
Well, J.D. Vance is a Catholic like I am. And that's a very common Catholic prayer at a funeral. That was his response. The father of the young boy, one of the children who died, Fletcher Merkel, made a statement, and let's just watch that.
Yesterday, a coward decided to take our 8-year-old son Fletcher away from us. Because of their actions, we will never be allowed to hold him, talk to him, play with him, and watch him grow into the wonderful young man he was on the path to becoming. Fletcher loved his family, friends, fishing, cooking, and any sport that he was allowed to play. While the hole in our hearts and lives will never be filled, I hope that in time our family can find healing. I pray that the other victim's family can find some semblance of the same. I'm hopeful that all the wounded are able to make a full recovery and return home to their families. And finally, all the people, and especially the children, impacted by this horrific event are able to recover mentally and find strength to live loving, happy, and full lives. Over the past day, I've heard many stories accounting the swift and heroic actions of children and adults alike from inside the church. Without these people and their selfless actions, this could have been a tragedy of many magnitudes more. For these people, I am thankful. Moving forward, We ask not for your sympathy, but your empathy. As our family and the Annunciation community grieve and try to make sense of such a senseless act of violence. Please remember Fletcher for the person he was and not the act that ended his life. Give your kids an extra hug and kiss today. We love you, Fletcher. You'll always be with us.
I couldn't imagine. And for what? For what? Because some kid was pissed off at the world and they placated him and filled him with antidepressants and gender affirming care and chemical compounds that worsened his medical condition because our entire medical system has been compromised by philosophers who have the wrong philosophy, by the way. It's absolutely insane, and it really and truly pisses me off to no degree that's even explainable. But the this shooting is different than others, and I think because of who is in power has a lot to do with it. Normally the these shootings go away. We saw this with Audrey Hale and the shooting at the I think it was Abundant Life Abundant Life Church. She was another trans kid who was very disturbed and shot up the church. Maybe hire veterans. They should know how to handle weapons to protect the premises. That's from Patty. Hey, Patty, welcome on. Thank you very much for your comment. Yeah, I think that's a good idea as long as they're screened. Not all veterans handle weapons. There are people who serve in the military for 20 plus years and have never touched a weapon in their life. I think you need there's a certain personality for protection that needs to be the ones in place. I think it should be a good job. I think that who's ever doing it, they should not have a position of authority. They are simply there for protection, like a reactionary force to stop anything that's occurring. But here is this is Scott Jennings. Now, if you never listened to Scott Jennings, he is kind of the dissenting voice at CNN. He's basically there because he's a Republican, and they have him there to say that they're fair and balanced. He's trying to make a point here that they are not going to allow him to make. And they try to stop him, and he has to be extraordinarily cautious with his words. Just watch as he tries to sugarcoat this because he's on CNN and has to.
Well, I think the first question you have to ask is, why did it happen? I don't think it happened because of guns. I think it happened because somebody who was clearly suffering from severe mental illness
had access to weapons that would allow them to carry out a terrible shooting.
And the mental illness.
So they can't even let him make his point. Notice that. They have to stop him. He's trying to make his point. He's gathering his thoughts. And they're like, well, yeah, but mental illness, they had access to guns. Yeah, but guns. He's trying to say what I'm saying and what the reality of the situation is saying. Listen again.
Happened because of guns. I think it happened because somebody who was clearly suffering from severe mental illness
had access to weapons that would allow them to carry out a terrible shooting.
And the mental illness was encouraged. And
but Scott, what about people who don't have mental illness?
I don't think we can tiptoe around this.
People who don't have mental illness do not shoot up schools. If you don't have a mental illness, you're not shooting up schools. No sane person does that. My mind is blown.
Issue. And when you look at the messages that were written in some of the materials and on the weapons that we've seen. I mean, this person obviously was in a dark place.
Obviously.
And I want to know,
obviously.
I'm not sure the government is in that person's life enough to know, but his parents are.
But what
and his
about,
family is.
Scott, what about people who don't have mental illness? We have a huge gun violence issue here in the United States. We lead in gun violence.
But the issue today is quite obviously mental illness. And
if you take away the mental illness, it still leads to guns.
Well, I think the first question you have to ask is, why did it happen?
And they have to blame guns. They have to. It's in the script. He's deviating from the script. Interrupt him. Don't let him deviate from the script. Here's Caroline Levitt answering a question about Jen Psaki and her comments that we covered a little while earlier. They're just, it's their knee-jerk reaction. They have to make it about guns.
I have two questions for you. Sure. Democrats, including former White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, attacked prayer and pushed gun control in the aftermath of yesterday's shooting. What's the White House's response to their comments?
Yes, I saw the comments of my predecessor, Ms. Psaki, and frankly, I think they're incredibly insensitive and disrespectful to the tens of millions of Americans of faith across this country who believe in the power of prayer, who believe that prayer works, and who believe that in a time of mourning like this, young children were killed while praying in a church. It's utterly disrespectful to deride the power of prayer in this country, and it's disrespectful to the millions of Americans of faith. And I would encourage Ms. Psaki to pray for these families themselves.
Yeah, 100%. And then Gavin Newsom shared this and said these children were literally praying when they got shot at. I mean, that guy's just a friggin' joke. That guy is just a joke. Here is RFK. And what he did here caused a friggin' ruckus, caused a massive scene. Everybody's resigning at the CDC. They're all freaking out. My answer to that is good. The CDC should be 100% complete and built from the ground up. It's a disgrace what they have allowed to be done to us as citizens. The poisoning that they have been bribed to allowing companies to place in our food that are causing cancers, the horrible medicines that they're prescribing to people every day to treat the illnesses that are in the food. The whole thing is a friggin' scam. It's not a conspiracy. It's the reality of what's happening. And that's why RFK is in there. He is the head of the CDC. He's the head of Human Health Services for the entire United States of America. And he is saying what I just said. So anybody wants to say I'm some friggin' conspiracy nut, conspiracy kook, whatever, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong with facts. But that's precisely what's happening. Let's listen to what he has to say.
I certainly consider mass shootings a health crisis, and we are doing for the first time real studies to find out what the etiology of that is. And we're looking for the first time at psychiatric drugs. You know, these kind of mass shooting, people have had guns in this country forever. When I was a kid, we had shooting clubs at our school. People, kids, my classmates, other people, would bring a .22 rifle with their guns to school and park it in the parking lot. Nobody was shooting shit. There's never been a time in America, in the history of humanity, when people walked into a crowd, into a church or a movie theater or a school or a crowd of strangers and just started randomly shooting. It's happening in our country. It's not happening around the world. And there are many other countries that have comparable levels of guns that we have in this country. We had comparable levels in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and people weren't doing that. Something changed, and it dramatically changed human behavior. And one of the culprits we need to examine is whether the fact that we are the most over-medicated nation in the world, and that a lot of those are psychiatric drugs that have black box warnings on them that warn of suicidal and homicidal ideation. So we are doing those studies right now for the first time, and we will have an answer.
Good. The drugs literally warn you that you may become suicidal or homicidal. Well, first of all, if somebody's suicidal, they're homicidal. Remember that. If they're suicidal, they're homicidal. They're willing to kill themselves. They're willing to kill you and anybody else to take you with them. That's serious mental illness. Serious mental illness. And if the drugs literally say on the bottle, be careful, this may make you suicidal, that's something we may not want to give out unless it's a serious situation that needs to happen. That's the only time it should be given out. Here is Joey Jones on the 5 talking about the left's insane gun grab or attempt to grab guns.
Make sure they didn't have those guns if you treated transgender identity problems as mental health problems, which is exactly what it is. I'm sorry. You want me to prove I'm not evil to own a gun, but I'm a bigot because I want you to prove you're not crazy because you want to change your identity. Those two things don't line up for you. I don't get that. 5%, 20 million AR-style guns in this country. 20 million of 400 million guns in this country. Only 4% of guns used in homicide are rifles, and that's a much bigger category than AR. So what you're saying is you want me to ban 5% of the guns in this country that are used in 4% of the homicides, and that's going to save our kids. No. Is it going to stop incidents like this? Probably not, because they're already out there. Is it going to stop Democrats from using incidents like this to find some linchpin to raise money and create fear and maybe win an election? No, they're not going to stop either, because they still say that we want to prevent gay people from getting married, and that's been buried for a long time. What it's going to do is it's going to stop people from, like me, from going and buying a gun from someone I know to be law-abiding, to use to hunt with or protect my house, or, you know what, to relieve stress with, because it's been a long day and I want to go shoot a target. That's my right. That's the right of 350 million Americans. It's protected in the Constitution. If you want to take a flip side of this, you said that the National Guard for these incidents is gun control. How about I tell you this? 183 kids died in Illinois last year on average, so could have been more last year, from gun violence. More than half of those were handguns. Let's see, 20 a year die in D.C. Most of those handguns.
The majority of gun deaths in the United States are handguns. And there was a report that came out recently that are saying, oh, the number one killer of children in this country is guns. Absolute nonsense. BS. If you're counting 16 and 17-year-old gangbangers in the United States who are killing each other with guns in ghettos and democratic ghettos across the United States, yeah. If you're counting actual children, innocent children not involved in the gang world, it's not. It's just a statistic that the left is manipulating, again, to try to take your weapons away. That is their goal. They want you unarmed. They want you unarmed, they want you silenced, and they want complete and total autonomous control over you and what you do and how you act and how you think. They want 1984 to be a reality while they are in power. The left doesn't build anything. The left only destroys. And they've even destroyed themselves. That's how good they are at destroying things. They've destroyed our education system. Harvard used to be a reputable place. Now, people laugh if you've got a degree from Harvard. That used to be a place where if you got into that place, man, you were the best educated person in the world, but the left destroyed it. They destroyed our news organizations. News, CNN. If you were an anchor on CNN, you were considered to be beyond reproach. They destroyed that. But now they're destroying themselves because that's what they do.
Since 1999, let's go back to 1999 because that's Columbine. So just over the last 25 years, that means 250 children died in D.C. from gun violence, mostly handguns. In that same period of time, less than 210 children died in what we would call a mass shooting, and not all of those were from an AR. Why do I bring this up? It's not in some major defense of AR. It's to say that Democrats are absolutely 100% not at all concerned with saving the lives of children. Because if you are, you're going to President Trump right now and saying, God, please bring the National Guard to Chicago. 183 kids a year die from gun violence, most of them handguns. And just because of D.C. versus Heller and the Brune rule, handguns are the most constitutionally protected gun out there. What's that mean? It means Democrats can't go after them. They've tried to. It failed. The Supreme Court said, nope, you have the right to carry them. So now they're going to go after 5% of guns, used in 4% of homicides at best, because that's the political win. But the actual win, the saving children's lives, is what Trump's doing in D.C. right now. The actual win, the saving children's lives.
He has a good point. That Trump is trying to stop the death of all these children in the United States by fixing the crime in the Democratic friggin' dumps that they have built. So the mother of the shooter, her name is Mary Westman, is coming under a lot of scrutiny because at this time, okay, hear me out before you freak out and disagree with me. She's not cooperating with police. She's hired a defense attorney. She wants nothing to do, no communication, no anything. Now, you can look at that as two ways. The one way that everybody is looking at that is that she's guilty. She must have done something wrong. Well, not necessarily, okay? What we've seen in some of the most recent mass shootings are the parents being persecuted because the child is dead. So they start going after the parents. That's a scary thing for a parent, okay? Sure, I can feel you screaming at your car while you're driving down the road at me saying, Ryan, the parents should have known. Yeah, they should have known. They should have known. These parents changed this child's gender when they were underage. The parents did. They went to the court, and the court documents all over the place. You can look at it, and they signed over their child to change their name from a man named from Robert to Robin because he was transitioning. I do think that is child abuse. I'm sorry, I do. I could be wrong. You could disagree. That's fine. I don't think changing your child's gender is healthy for that child. That's insane. But I do understand that there is going to be a witch hunt, as there typically is, and they're going to go after who they can. And maybe the mother is aware of that. And yeah, Kat said it best. She's scared shitless. And she should be. She should be. I don't know. I don't know. I still haven't confirmed whether or not Robin lived at home with her mom. They're saying the mom is in Florida. The mom used to be a teacher at the school that was shot up. Josh says 100% child abuse. Yeah, dude, I agree. 100% child abuse. Let's watch this clip, though, because Fox News talks about it.
The FBI has released new details on the Minnesota school shooting as a memorial continues to grow outside the Annunciation Catholic School. An 8- and a 10-year-old were murdered in the tragedy, and in total, 15 children were injured, with at least 9 still in the hospital and 1 that remains in critical condition. The parents some form of answers, but police say one close family member to the shooter is leaving everyone in the dark. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Emily Campagno, and also joining us today, Molly Line, Fox News correspondent, Tommy Lahren, Fox News contributor and host of Tommy Lahren is Fearless on Outkick and FoxNews.com. And joining us on the couch for the very first time is Tiffany Smiley, founder of the Endeavor PAC and former U.S. Senate candidate, and Guy Benson, Fox News contributor and the host of The Guy Benson Show on Fox News Radio. Now, Minneapolis police say the shooter was obsessed with killing children and carried out the massacre to gain notoriety. Police say he fired 116 rounds with a rifle and 3 with a shotgun. Fox News confirms the shooter's
So he did
mother.
use a shotgun. I guess it wasn't all the assault rifle. Okay. That's a lot of rounds. 100 and something rounds is a lot of rounds. But only 17 children were injured and 2 were killed. So 19 people were hit out of 340 and 100 and something rounds. It's not very good aim. But here's one of the things that saved the school is their protocol helped save the school. So the protocol is when the children in the church and the children in prayer, all of the doors were locked and nobody was able to get in. So the shooter tried to get in, couldn't get in the door, so had to shoot through the windows. That saved countless lives. And that's a lot of the protocols we're seeing across the United States, but they need more. They need more equipment, they need bulletproof glass, they need we need this all over the United States. Every school should have it. 100%.
Who previously worked at the school where the shooter attacked, has hired a criminal defense attorney. Now, police have been able to interview her. Watch.
We do know that the shooter did attend Mass there previously. The shooter did attend school. And the shooter's mother was an employee of the parish previously for some time. So obviously there is a connection between that shooter and this particular parish. I know we have not been successful in talking to the shooter's mother yet at this time, but there continue to be efforts made to get that done.
The mother's attorney gave Fox News Digital this statement, quote, "She is completely distraught about the situation and has no culpability, but is seeking an attorney to deal with calls like this." And now FBI Director Kash Patel says investigators have collected enough evidence that points directly to an act of domestic terrorism motivated by a hate-filled ideology.
Yes. Thank you. Finally, an FBI that is acknowledging it. With Audrey Hale, the shooter, I think it was South Carolina, it was an undercover journalist team from Louder with Crowder had to get the manifesto, and it took years, and they found out, yep, trans, yep, just like we knew the entire time. And they refused to even acknowledge that she was trans because the Democrats are in power. Now that the Republicans are in power, all of this, even the media is reporting everything. Nobody's being suppressed, which is crazy that the government would even have that kind of influence. But nobody's being suppressed, and that's how it should be. And yeah, this is an act of domestic terrorism. It's racial, and he targeted white Christians because that's the ideology that he had.
An absolutely tragic situation, Tiffany. As we learn more, it appears we won't be learning more from the mother of the shooter.
Yeah, well, I mean, first, this senseless act of violence is absolutely gut-wrenching. It just hits you hard. I'm a mom of 3 boys who just started Catholic school, and my whole heart and prayers goes out to the whole community, to the parents, to the kids, to the teachers, and even to the shooter's mom. I can't imagine the weight of the world that is on her shoulders, the responsibility. I don't think any of us can fathom what perhaps she is feeling in this moment. While I would like to see her cooperating with law enforcement, I would like to see her put out a statement to her lawyer, I think it's going to take time. And I just can't imagine.
Think about it. The most likely scenario here. This is a lady who worked at the school. I'm not sure in what capacity, but let's presume it's a teacher. Teachers love kids. That's why they do it, because they don't get paid. They don't make a lot of money. So they do it because they love children. They're protectors of children. They see themselves as educators. Dedicates her whole life to that, whether she retired, right, from the school. So she had been there long enough to at least retire from the school. So she spends her whole life doing that. And then her own child goes there and murders people. That is horrible. That's horrible. So my presumption with her is I don't think that she's involved or anything. I think she's terrified that they're going to come after her. I think she's terrified that there was all of this controversy her whole life, over at least her son's life, over just whether he was directly involved in the controversy or not. She participated in it. There's definitely some serious serious, passionate frustration with parents who transition their children, even at the request of doctors. So she's hiding. She's hiding because she's afraid of the ramifications. That doesn't mean she's guilty of anything. You got to remember, man, as a United States citizen, you have a right to say, no, I'm not talking to the police. That any lawyer will always advise you to do, no matter what the situation is. So let's not assume she's guilty. Let's assume she's innocent and that she is just terrified and completely emotionally devastated that the child she brought into this world murdered children that she loved at a place that she dedicated her life
the place
to.
that she is in. But as we go along, she's going to have to communicate and work with law enforcement to get to the bottom of this. And I would hope that she could put something out sooner than later, just for everyone in the community.
Yeah, your compassion is so generous. And we should, again, remind viewers, she was part of the community, too, the Annunciation community.
Yeah, so you think about this as a parent, and you've lost your kid, which is unimaginable and horrendous. And then with that, compounding the grief and the confusion and perhaps the anger is the fact that your kid also murdered other kids in the process of this horrific atrocity.
Yeah, man, that's horrible. And now you're worried, hey, JD, and now you're worried that the federal government's going to come after you and put you away. But like I said, I don't know. It doesn't mean she's innocent either. But protecting yourself and hiring an attorney does not mean that you're guilty, man. It does not mean that you're guilty. Sorry.
So there is some sense of empathy that I feel. That being said, if there were signs that were missed, I'm sure she's probably thinking, if she should have known something or did know something, we need to know that. And I do think it's important for her to cooperate with law enforcement. She doesn't have to talk to us in the media. I understand that. But law enforcement, she should cooperate with. Because if she's distraught, which I'm sure she is, I think she owes this to herself and especially to the families of the victims of her son to help law enforcement to the greatest extent possible. And if she's not doing that, especially a few days from now, I think that's a problem.
And Molly, perhaps...
I don't think it's a problem at all. I'm sorry, I don't think it's a problem at all. I think I would base my opinion on her political stance based on who her child was. I would definitely say she's probably, I would assume, pure speculation, I'm going to assume the mother of a trans child that she helped transition and get his legal name changed is not a huge fan of Donald Trump. And maybe she's terrified that the federal government, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, are going to come after her and use her as an example, which is possible. The FBI, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, sent a team there immediately. We've never seen that in a school shooting before. Immediately. Kash Patel, they put out tweets that said the FBI is on the way. So we may see charges against the mother or the father or the brother or the sister. Anybody who is culpable is going to get, that's the way they're doing their school shootings now. They're going after the parents. Bro, I'm going to show you the parents that it happened to previously, but let's finish watching this.
Is there some type of fear of legal retribution that is obfuscating her willingness to cooperate so that everyone in our collect can, yes, learn something to prevent it from ever happening again?
There have been a number of parents in the course of these similar tragedies, mass shootings, that have been prosecuted in the wake of them. There was most notably the Crumbleys, Jennifer and James Crumbly. They were the first parents to be prosecuted. Their son was a minor when he committed his acts, killing 4 students. That was at the Oxford High School. But there have also been parents who've been charged after their sons, in these cases, committed mass killings. But when they were adults, there were several examples. The father of the Nashville Waffle House shooter, that individual that committed the shooting was 29 years old at the time of the shooting at the Waffle House. The father of a man who killed 7 people that happened at a 4th of July parade in 2022 in Illinois, the Highland Park shooting. That shooter at the time of the shooting was an adult as well. In the case of that particular father, he signed his son's application for an Illinois firearms identification card 3 years before the massacre. He was ultimately pleading guilty to 7 counts of misdemeanor reckless conduct. So parents have faced culpability when similar. Perhaps she might be thinking a little bit about this. But if you have a lawyer, you could also use that lawyer perhaps to express some empathy for the victims.
Right. And it's surprising, frankly, just as a bystander here, Tommy, that there haven't been communication directly with law enforcement, considering that on the day of that tragedy, within minutes after that person was identified, then she would have been brought in to Guy's Point too. It was part of the right. Yeah.
This feels odd. And it's hard not to feel like it's odd to not even have an interview. I understand getting yourself an attorney because you want to protect yourself, to your point, and I think that that's understandable.
Just a fun fact about Tommy Loren. I used to love Tommy Loren, and then we kind of got connected, not in any way like that. But she was going to come on the show, and then she tried to charge me to come on the show, and I laughed. So, fun fact about Tommy Loren. I have a little bad taste in my mouth ever since then. That's a true story. I got the text to prove it.
What's not is not cooperating, especially with law enforcement. To your point, Guy, she doesn't necessarily owe us, the public, anything, but something, and you owe these families something. I can't help but think, going back to the Gabby Petito case and Brian Laundrie's family, I can't help but think that when they were not cooperating with police, but they immediately got a criminal defense attorney, and they said, you can talk to him. We're not saying anything. We're not going to talk about it. This feels to me eerily similar. I'm not saying that she has any culpability. I'm sure she doesn't. She was living in another state. However, if you do feel like you need a defense attorney, you still need to cooperate with police. You owe the community that much. And by her not doing that, I think a lot of the empathy that all of you feel for her, that's going to dissipate in the public eye pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, that may be true. Her empathy may disappear in the public eye, but honestly, she's protecting herself, and I can't blame her for that because there's going to be a witch hunt. She could, listen, if her doctors and she's taking the kid to the doctor and she's trying to get treatment, like my child is unstable, my child thinks he's a girl, I don't know what to do, then the doctors are saying, oh, you need to fill him full of this medicine and we need to get him transitioned and you need to go ahead and start hormone therapy. And she's listening to the doctors and putting him on SSRIs and all of these medications, and she's listening to the doctors, and it screwed him up to the point where in the end he decides, like, I'm not a tranny, man. I'm not. That's what he said in the end, that he has regrets. Imagine going through all of that and then getting to the age of 23 and realizing you're not a girl. You're a boy. Imagine that. That your whole childhood is gone. Everybody makes fun of you. Nobody, you're the weird kid at school. You're transitioning in height. Like, that's insanity. It's insanity. And I think that she's going to be held accountable for some of the decisions that she's made. So she doesn't have to cooperate. Does she owe it to the community? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think she's necessarily personally responsible for her child's actions. I think sometimes as a society we want to blame the parents for everything. But I think our society is corrupt, and as parents we do our best, and sometimes it doesn't work out that way. Sometimes our children get corrupted by evil, man. Evil is out there in the world, and it's our job to protect our children from it, and sometimes it's very hard. There are plenty of parents and their children get addicted to drugs, and then they're out robbing people, stealing other people's money, and sometimes they rob and kill people. Are the parents responsible for that? It's a tough thing to solely blame the parent, but I think she's just scared. I think she is overwhelmingly grievous. There is no way that she just has to be completely and utterly destroyed. Her life is completely ruined. Her reputation is completely ruined. It will never be normal again. She lives all the way in Florida. She wasn't even there when it happened. And then on top of her son being a shooter, she finds out he did it at the place that she worked. I don't think that that necessarily makes her guilty because she's terrified that they're going to persecute her.
It's such a good point, the public perception versus legal culpability, and the reality that I think that the public understands, there's a level of support that one has for their children that is not to be confused with the culpability of their nefarious intentions. And it seems like there hasn't been a judgmental approach to this horrific situation that we know of at this point.
Right. Well, and you got to think, as a mother, you take that responsibility on. And I'm sure she is feeling that. But like I said, and to your point, Tommy, she should put out a statement through her lawyer to the community, to the victim, and show that she is sympathetic and that she cares. I think that would go a long way.
Yeah.
I would imagine she's sympathetic. I don't need a statement from the mother. I'm not sure I would be in the right mind to give a statement if I was in her shoes. I don't think I would be in the right mind to make a statement. So here is, I mean, but the social media is trying to turn this into something that it's not. It's what social media does, and this is developing mother of transgender Minneapolis mass shooter. Robin Westman appears to have fled and is not cooperating with police and retained a criminal defense attorney. I'm not sure if she fled. I think that's a misrepresentation of what happened. I don't think that she had fled. I think that is not accurate. This is a photo of the family. The one on the right is Robin, and then that's the mother, and then I'm not sure who the two others are. The mother has the white pants on, and then the other two are perhaps his sisters. So, it's easy for us to sit here and judge and say there had to be signs, and I'm sure there were signs, but nobody ever believes that their child is going to do that they're going to be a statistic, or their parents or that they're going to be um, the ones who have to face this situation. The kid obviously had problems. The parents had to take him to get friggin' sexually mutilated. Yeah, that's a sign of serious mental illness. So I think we need to see how that plays out. There may be evidence. There may be things where the mother is culpable, because I'm sure the FBI already has the cell phone records of both of them. Maybe the kid texted the mom and said, "I'm thinking about doing this," and the mom did nothing about it. There could be something there. I'm not saying that there's not. I'm saying is that right now there is no evidence to suggest that the mother is culpable for anything simply because she retained an attorney. JD said, them saying should is a very heavy word coming from news anchors, in my opinion. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't he living in his own apartment? I'm not sure if he was living on his own apartment. I'm not sure if the mother was there. I don't really have those answers. But what I do know is that we're going to continue to cover this. We have covered this for 2 shows in a row. I wasn't on last night. I apologize for that. But we're just gonna stay on top of this. And the thing is that this is just full disclosure. And that's, it's a horrible event. It's tragic. But, I'm so used to with these shootings, you never find out anything. It's super secret. We don't get manifestos. I mean, they're interviewing kids. They're interviewing kids at the school who were there, whose friends are in the hospital. And do I think it's necessarily good to put kids on on camera? I mean, I don't think it's necessarily good, but I don't think it's bad. If the parents are okay with it, obviously. I think it's good to have primary sources so we can know what happened. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But this is something we're just going to continue to cover, and we're going to look at it as often as we can, and we'll keep you updated as updates come in, man. I mean, that's really it. Why can't I find any of these interviews? I'm sitting here talking about how it's so they've been so transparent, and now I can't find anything that I'm looking for. But the all right, let me see if I can find something here. Here's a kid on Good Morning America. We've never seen this before. Actual kids interviewing?
Are now emerging of the panicked moments inside that church and also the bravery of everyone who was inside that church as well. We're joined now by 13-year-old Javen Willis. He's an 8th grader at Annunciation. He's with us along with his mother, Melissa. Javen, let me start with you. I know you've been at Annunciation for a number of years now. You're in Mass yesterday with your buddy, and all of a sudden you hear those shots ring out. What did you do then, Javen?
Well, right when I heard the shots, I knew something was off. I didn't think that they would have, a lot of my classmates thought it was confetti and fireworks, but I didn't think they would have that during the middle of the church service. So honestly, it was just, at that point, I was like, I want to try to keep everybody as safe as possible. So I told me and my 2 buddies to get down and to get under the pew. And right when I told them that, it was like a state of shock for me, and I knew that I had to try to keep as many people around me as I could safe.
While you're down there on the floor, keeping yourself safe, keeping your buddies safe, what was going through your mind?
Well, right when it happened, I dropped down under the pew, like I said, and I prayed. I said my few prayers, and then I realized, like, I can't just sit here and focus on myself, knowing that with God on my side, I would be fine. So I tried to just go and help out my fellow classmates, try to keep them calm and safe and let them know that they'll be okay.
You're a young man of great faith. I understand that you were just baptized last week. Mom, I want to turn to you for a second, because as I understand it, you're on this, like a lot of moms, you're on this text thread with moms. You're at work. You start to hear about what's going on there at the church. You spring into action. You get to the gym. What did you see when you got there? What was that experience like for you?
I mean, it was terrifying. You just never think that this is going to be your reality. There was quite a large perimeter set up, so I just parked as soon as I got within a couple of blocks of the school. And by the time I got there, they were already starting to let parents into the gym to look for our kids. So I didn't have to wait, thankfully. But yeah, they were ushering us all in and down to the gym where the kids were all at to find our kids.
And you saw your boy there, and you were able to put your arms around him for the first time.
I mean, all right, let's address the elephant in the room. Is this kid adopted, or what's going on here? I don't know the story. He may be adopted, may not, but it doesn't matter, right? But yeah, man, I mean, kids are doing interviews. I've never seen this at a school shooting. It's unheard of. And he's like one of many. There have been a ton of them. Here is let's watch this one.
Survival and how they are touching incredibly young lives, and it's unbelievable, really. These stories of heroes, of older kids that are throwing themselves onto younger kids to try to save them. You never know what is going to happen in a situation like this.
Yeah, and Chris Arapsky had referenced this earlier. Our Lou Ragoo spoke to a 10-year-old boy who was inside the church, seated right next to a child that was shot, and in fact protected by another child in that church. Lou, that's probably one of the most powerful things we've heard today.
I totally agree. This is a story of survival.
It's also a story of heroism. When it was safe to do so, this family approached us so that their 5th grader could share how his life was saved.
It was really scary.
10-year-old Weston Halsney had just sat down at Annunciation Catholic School's Mass to mark the first week of school.
And then it was maybe 3 minutes in, the first shot fired.
The first shot of dozens, as Weston and his schoolmates scrambled to hide under the church pews.
Right beside me, I was 2 seats away from the stained glass windows. So they were the shots were right next to me.
That's scary.
Yeah.
You went under the pew after that happened?
Yeah. And
Is that what everyone tried to do?
I think I got gunpowder on my neck.
Gunpowder on his neck, and his life saved by a friend.
My friend Victor saved me though, because he laid on top of me, but he got hit. My friend got hit in the back. Yeah, he went to the hospital.
What went through your mind when you saw that?
I was super scared for him, but I think now he's okay.
From the church where the shooting took place, Weston and the student body evacuated to the gym.
We went to the gym, and then the doors locked just to make sure he didn't come.
By then, the shooter was already dead.
And then the police were really good because they showed up really quick.
Weston's grandpa says their family is doing as well as anyone can after what happened.
When it happens to your own children, then you're going to think very differently about this. And there's only one way to think about it. And there's nothing this precious little boy ever did to deserve this.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild. I've never seen kids interviewed at a school shooting ever. Unless I'm wrong. But we're going to continue to cover this. Make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you have not already. We're also going to start doing, once a week, we're going to start doing a separate special podcast for historical events or book reviews. I'm working on coming out with the videos about Socrates' apology. Hang on, that's coming. We're going to let you know about that event. So make sure you stay tuned. God bless you. God bless your families. Hold your children close. Love each other. You never know what's going to happen. And get your conceal and carry permit and carry a gun. Period. Thank you very much. If you're listening on the podcast, make sure you hit that download button and we will catch you next time.